When talking about retirement, the first question that usually comes to mind is, do I have enough money to retire? Can I afford to retire? Can I afford to take care of myself for whatever my remaining years are? Those are usually the first questions that come to mind. And really, there's a question that should come before that. And the question is, what am I retiring to? What do I want my life to be then? I think if you can't answer that question, that is where we should start, right? My name is Amy Palmer. I am your Gen X big sister, and this is the first episode of my new YouTube show, The Pretirement Project. And in this series, we are going to explore all things pretirement. And if you're new to this channel, pretirement is the last 10 to 15 years ish before you retire. So it's mostly us Gen X, and I'm specifically speaking to Gen X women. So we're about 10 to 15 years from retirement. We, in most cases, don't quite have enough financially to retire yet, or we might not be emotionally ready, just mentally ready. We may have identity questions happening, et cetera, et cetera. But the thing that we do know is that we can't keep doing life the way that we're doing it right now. We can't keep doing life the way that we've been doing it for the last couple of decades. There is a large number of Gen X women who are burnt out, exhausted, stuck, done, over it, and they're just drudging forward, right? And continuing to hustle and take care of all the things and all the people. And in the back of their mind, they're thinking, okay, at some point I'm gonna retire, but they are not where they want to be right now, today. And that's what this show is going to be all about. That is what we are going to cover. We are going to talk about now, pre-retirement. How can we build a life right now that we enjoy, that fulfills us, that doesn't burn us out, that doesn't squeeze every life of everything right out of us? How can we build that now? I've been talking about this on this channel for several months now. I've shared a little bit of my own journey, and I've shared a little bit of, how I managed to turn things around. 4 years ago, I took a very bold action. I gave up my corporate executive position. I gave up 90% of my belongings, sold them or donated them, and I packed up my car and went back to, I left my dream home of Laguna Beach, California, packed up my car to go back east to become nomadic for a few months. I went on a sabbatical for 3 months. I gave myself 3 months to heal, to get my mind, my body, my soul back to center and back to healthy. And at the end of that period, the one piece of clarity that I had is that I wanted to sustain and maintain this sense of freedom. And that's what this is going to be all about. It's important to note that it didn't happen overnight. I wasn't able to change my life like quickly, even within that 3 month sabbatical. It took more. I had some clarity and I had a plan or an idea of a plan at the end of my 3 month sabbatical, but it's taken me a few years to put it all into play and to make it happen in real life. And now I feel like I'm at sort of a new level, a new phase, a new chapter where I'm now happy with my present current life, and I am happy with how I have my life set up, how I spend my time, where I find my joy, how I make connections and nurture connections and community. I'm happy with all that, and I'm really clear about the life that I want to live. What I'm on the verge of is I'm now finally ready to really look farther into the future and put things in place to figure out how I'm going to be in the third act of my life. I'm turning 60 at the end of this year, and I want to put things in place to make sure that I am a strong, capable, autonomous solo ager as I get older. And so I'm going to be sharing what I learn about that. What does that mean? What does that mean to be a strong, powerful solo ager? It means getting all my finances in order. It means getting everything in order to make sure that I can stay vibrant and healthy and independent and taken care of if I become less than independent, taken care of if something happens with my health. So it's figuring all those things out. And I'm ready to do that now. Now that I am happy with my current state, I'm ready to plan for the future. So this series is going to be sort of a combination of that. I'm going to share all the steps that I took, all the things that I've learned over these last 4 years to create a wonderful current reality, and what it took for me to create a life that was in alignment with who I am and what I want from life. I'm going to share that. And then at the same time, I'll be figuring it out in real time how I'm preparing for the future and what that looks like, specifically as a solo ager. And I'm sure many of those things will apply to you whether or not you are a solo ager. So, welcome to the Pretirement Project. So, why am I doing this series specifically for Gen X women? Well, of course, partly because I am one. And so I can relate specifically to our experience. We were trained to follow a blueprint. And if you follow my podcast called Blueprint Breakers, you know I talk about this quite a bit. We had a traditional blueprint handed to us. We were given sort of a set of guidelines on what it takes to be a, a full, true, happy person and happy woman. We were supposed to, when we grew up, we were supposed to go to college and meet someone, fall in love, hopefully get married, have children, all while pursuing a career. And we were supposed to follow those life guidelines and have milestones throughout our life based on those choices. So our life had little goalposts along the way of, becoming grandparents and, all the things all the way to retirement. And then you retire after working 30, 40 years. And that's when you get to like rest and travel and put yourself first and explore, etc. And many of us have struggled with that blueprint, myself included. I didn't follow the blueprint. I tried to follow the blueprint. It did not work out for me. I didn't find a partner. And my desire for motherhood, while quite strong and quite compelling, still was not strong enough to take action to do it without a partner. That's my situation in a nutshell. But Gen X women in general, we take our responsibilities very seriously. We take on a lot of responsibilities and a lot of obligations. We work really, really hard, and we don't complain much, except maybe now online with each other a little bit. And we just, you know, work really, really hard. And when things get hard, we suck it up. We put on our big girl panties and we just keep barreling through. And for those of us Gen X women who are partnered, who do have a family, their plate is even more complex. They have even more responsibilities, people that they're taking care of, responsibilities that they're taking on their shoulders, pressures that they're taking on. And we're at that age right now where we are thinking ahead to retirement. And the statistics show that as a generation, we are woefully unprepared for retirement financially. It's not even talking about mentally and emotionally, just financially. So, for all those reasons, that is why this series is for you, the Gen X woman, the woman who is feeling burnt, done, over it, taking care of everybody and everything else but yourself. But you can't, you feel like it's too late to start over. You don't want to start from scratch. You can't start from scratch. You hate your job. You don't want to leave it because if you try to, you want to go out into the job force competing with people half our age. It seems very insurmountable. All the while taking care of your aging parents, taking care of your teenage or young adult kids, and still taking on a lot of responsibilities, being in that sandwich generation. And since I've been talking about this online for the last several months, I've just heard from so many of you, so many different stories. And I think the number one thing that I notice is that you're just looking for some hope. You're looking for some light at the end of the tunnel. You're looking for a direction to go. And I feel like I have that to offer. I feel like I can give you encouragement, but I can also give you some direction. I can give you some recommendation. I can give you some tactical actions that can be taken. And that's what we're going to cover here. So, yes, I'm not really talking about retirement. I'm talking about pre-tirement. It's about a perspective shift. Instead of asking, when can I retire? Let's talk about let's build a life now. Let's talk about the here and now and the choices that we can make now that we don't feel a need to retire from, that we don't need to escape from. Retirement is a future event, right? Pre-retirement is right now. Right now. What can we do now? I'm going to ask you to do a little exercise. And I'm going to call it the Ordinary Tuesday exercise. Let's think ahead 3 to 5 years from now. It's an Ordinary Tuesday. What do you want that day to look like? Where do you want to be? What do you want to be like? Think about like the physical environment. What do you want to be surrounded by? Who do you want to be surrounded by? How do you want to greet the day? How do you want to spend your time? Who do you want to interact with? How do you want to find your joy? How do you want to be earning income and having money coming in? What do you want your priorities for that Ordinary Tuesday to look like? Now don't focus on don't focus on the physical stuff when you're doing this exercise. Focus on the feeling and the activity and the action and the connection and the community. So think about those things. And I'd like to hear about yours. I would love for you to share a little bit of that in the comments about your Ordinary Tuesday. And let me share mine. Let me see. An Ordinary Tuesday. Now, I did not do this exercise back 4 years ago when I took my sabbatical. I did similar exercises, but not the specific one. But I would have said that I want to wake up in a beautiful surrounding. I want to be able to take my time getting up, that I did not want to get up to an alarm clock. I did not want an overly scheduled day. I want a very free flowing calendar. And I want to spend my time outdoors, getting movement, getting sunshine, breathing in fresh air in nature. I want to be able to spend quality time with people that I love. So, like a typical Tuesday, I could be, meeting a friend for coffee and having really good, solid conversation, like in the middle of the day on the Tuesday. And I could go home and work on a project for a few hours that's earning me some money and a project that I enjoy doing that utilizes my creativity. And I get to connect with people who mean a lot to me. And I get to spend the time the way that I want. And I get to spend my time dreaming and playing and taking joy in. That would be an ordinary Tuesday. Today, the day that I'm filming this is Thursday, but yesterday, Wednesday, it was an ordinary Tuesday. I woke up when I woke up naturally. I took a couple phone calls, some client phone calls, not appointments, but phone calls with clients and had some conversation. And then I went to one of my favorite libraries to get some work done. I spent most of the day in the library, a library that I really, really love, working on a project that I'm really, really enjoying, even though it's challenging and there's definitely some challenges to it, but I'm enjoying it as well. And then I left and went to my parents' house where I'm staying right now. And I got together with my parents and my brother, and we went to a food truck festival and had dinner and sort of tailgated and sat and talked and chatted. And then went home and I got to watch a couple shows on Peacock. I'm watching Traders Canada right now and early to bed. And that was a wonderful, enjoyable, typical, ordinary day. Completely different than what my Wednesday would have looked like 4.5 years ago before I changed things up. 4.5 years ago, it would have been a long work day, longer than it needed to be, with a lot of stress, very little to no happiness, very little to no fulfillment, very little to no connection, true connection with people that I love, and then exhaustion at the end of the day, and then watching TV for many, many hours until I fell asleep, usually late in the evening. So I think it's important to, think about exactly how do you want to live your life and what does that look like and put that together. Once you're thinking about that ordinary Tuesday and what that looks like, then it's time to bring in the reality, like health and money and responsibilities and work and geography. They're not reasons that your vision is not possible. They're just constraints in the design that need to be figured out and worked into your design as you're designing your pretirement. One of the number one goals of pretirement is to figure out what's the gap between the life that you're living right now and the life that you want to be living. That that is where we need to spend the time. That is where we need to do the work and the play, have some fun and some joy while we're doing it. So, as you're doing your little assignment of your ordinary Tuesday, I want you to ask yourself, how different is that from my life now? Where is it different from my life now? And is there one thing that I can start with? Is there like one little tiny piece that I can start with in redesigning? So, join me for this show, The Pretirement Project. We're going to talk about money, health, aging, joy, community, living, where you're living, all the things, all the things. Each episode is going to be another piece of the puzzle. And I may throw some bonuses in here and there as I make new discoveries of things that I'm learning in real time as I set myself up for my solo aging adventure. So please share your ordinary Tuesday with me. Share any other thoughts, anything that you want to hear about, or you want me to look into, or you want me to share with you. Leave it in the comments. I am planning this show one episode at a time. I have a very rough idea outline of what the arc of the episodes can look like, but I'm literally going to be preparing them and crafting them and getting them ready one episode at a time. So give me your thoughts and I'll incorporate it into the episodes. If you like this show, please remember to like and subscribe, share it with your friends. I really appreciate the support. My name is Amy Palmer, and we're going to explore the Pretirement Project.